This story begins in MIT College, where Professor Gerald is teaching his student. Then he says that I have given a question on the blackboard outside, and the student who solves it, his name will be written in the college magazine. There is a boy in the same college whose name is Will Hunting, and he does the cleaning work in that college. When he sees that question on the blackboard, after coming home he solves it on his mirror. Next morning he solves the problem on the blackboard. On the other hand, when the professor comes to know that someone has solved his question, he goes to the blackboard and asks his student who solved this problem, but the student says we don't know. At night Will Hunting goes to the club with his friends where Chucky start flirting with the two girls of MIT College. And he says that I also know about history. Then a boy comes to that place and asks question to Chucky about history, and he is not able to answer it. Seeing this, Will Hunting comes to that place and answers all the questions of that boy. Simultaneously, he asks the boy about some history questions and books, but that boy is unable to answer him. Later Will Hunting says that the knowledge for which you give lakhs of rupees to the college, that knowledge can be acquired even by sitting in the library. Hearing this, one of the girl named Skylar gets impressed from Will, and she give her number to him. Next morning the professor goes to the classroom and says, "Whoever has solved that question please come out," but no one comes out. Then he says, "I have given another question outside on the blackboard, which took me 2 years to solve it." When he comes outside the class, he sees a boy is writing something on the blackboard. Then the professor says that this question is for the student, not for you, and Will Hunting says sorry and leaves that place. And when the professor looks at the blackboard, he comes to know that the question which took him 2 years to solve, that boy solved this question in a few minutes. We see that Will Hunting was driving the car with his friends. Then he sees a boy on roadside, who hit him in his childhood. Then Will Hunting goes to that boy and says, "You beat me in childhood. Now it is your turn." After saying this they all start fighting. After which the police comes and arrests Will. The next day we see Will Hunting in the court. Because he had beaten people and he wanted to fight his case himself. Before this, the judge says that I have read your file. You have troubled many people even before this. And you also raised your hand on the policeman. You always escape from the court, but this time you have to go to jail. And you have to pay $50,000 for your bail. At the same time Professor Gerald is also in court and looking at Will Hunting, and later Professor goes to jail to meet him and says, "I have spoken to the judge and he is ready to leave you. But I have two conditions. You have to solve maths questions with me, and second you have to meet therapist." Will Hunting is not ready to meet the therapist, but he has no other option and he agrees. And we see that he starts solving maths questions with the professor. On the other hand, he reads all books written by different therapists, and makes fun of therapist when he meets him, due to which many therapists refuse to give him treatment. After which Professor Gerald goes to meet his psychologist friend Sean McGuire for Will's treatment. But Professor Sean is not ready to give the treatment, because he does not have time. After which Gerald tries to convince Sean and says, "Do you know Ramanujan, who lived in India and he never went to school, but one day he got a mathematics book, with the help of which he discovered many theories, which completely changed the world of mathematics. And I believe that Will Hunting is also like that boy, who deserves the right guidance." Hearing this, Sean agrees and next day he meets Will Hunting. Even here, Will Hunting starts misbehaving with his new therapist, and he asks who has made this painting. Then Sean says that my wife, and Will says after seeing this painting, "It seems that you have married some wrong girl, who left you and went with someone else." On hearing this, Professor Sean gets very angry and he grabs Will's throat, and says, "If you said one more word about my wife, then I will take your life." Then Will Hunting says that today's session time is over. After this, Will Hunting meets Skylar in the cafe, and their friendship starts moving forward. Next week Will Hunting goes to the Professor Sean for his second session. And Sean takes him to a park this time, and asks him, "What do you think about love?" Then Will Hunting says, "Why are you wasting your time?" That's when the professor says, "After you left that day, I thought a lot, and I also know that you read a lot of books, but the love written in the book, and the love in real life are very different things. It is very difficult to know about a person by reading any book. And you are a timid person because you are afraid to talk, but when you want to talk, I will always be ready." After saying this, professor leaves. Later Will Hunting comes to the professor cabin for next class, but he doesn't say anything, just keeps looking at the clock, and after completion of 1 hour he leaves. After which he starts solving mathematics questions with Professor Gerald. Then Will Hunting comes in Professor Sean class and he tells the professor that I went to meet a girl. And Sean asks him, "Did you call her and do you like her?" After which Will Hunting says that I don't know, but she is a perfect girl. Then professor says that no one is perfect in this world, and we have to adjust in real life. Simultaneously, Sean asks, "Are you both perfect?" and when Will Hunting starts answering, Professor says today's time is over. After session, Will Hunting goes to meet Skylar, and this meeting is very good, because he was improving with therapy. And here Professor Gerald comes to meet Sean, and asks where did the therapy reach? And did you ask him what he wants to do in future? Then he replies that I haven't reached there yet. Then Gerald says that I have completed 20 years in mathematical field, then I got field medal and this boy is genius. After which Professor Sean says that, you want him to come in mathematics field but he has to decide what he has to do in life. Gerald says that I have kept an interview for him in a big company, but here Will Hunting is not interested in giving interview in that company, and he sends his friend Chucky in his place. And he himself goes to meet the Skylar, where we see both of them get very close. Skylar tells him that, you come with me to California, because I want to study there at Stanford University. Will Hunting thinks that she wants to leave him, and he starts saying that as a child I grew up in an orphanage, where I have been tortured a lot. Then Skylar says I want to help you if you don't think so. Then say that you don't love me and I will leave. And I will never even call you. Hearing this Will Hunting get angry and he says okay I don't love you and he leaves. Next day he goes to meet Professor Gerald, and Will Hunting has a page in his hand, in which he solved a problem, and says you know how easy it is for me to solve this problem, and by saying this he set that page on fires. And says I'm not interested in solving your mathematics problems, and he goes to Professor Sean, where both of them talk to each other. The professor asks do you have any friends with whom you share all your things? So his answer is Chucky. Then the professor says Chucky may die for you but he can't understand what you feel. Then professor asks what do you want to do in your life, and his answer is, I want to feed the goat. And the professor asks him to leave, because of his rudeness. Then he say why should I go, the session time is not over yet. Here we see Will Hunting can solve any mathematics problem, but he was not able to solve his problem in life. After that Will Hunting calls Skylar last time, and says I am going to interview. Then she says, I love you, but Will Hunting doesn't answer her. Later Will Hunting and Chucky are at a construction site, where Chucky says I won't mind if I spend my whole life on this type construction site, but you are genius and if you live your life like me, then I will kill you. And here Professor Gerald comes to meet Sean, and says why did you stop his treatment? Then he says I know what I am doing, if we drag therapy more, then he will leave us too. After which Will Hunting comes there and Gerald goes. Later the Professor Sean shows him the result of all his sessions, and tells him that you have an attachment disorder. And that's why you're afraid from relationship. Then Will Hunting said I broke up with Skylar, and Professor says you have not fault in this. Do you want to tell why this happened? And he says no. Again Professor say don't worry it is never your fault. Hearing this Will Hunting hugs Professor and start crying. After all this, Will Hunting starts working in a company, and after several days in the morning he comes to meet Professor Sean, where he comes to know that the professor is going on vacation. And Sean said if you need help for anything, give me a call. And when Will Hunting leaves from that place, Professor wish him by saying good luck son. Later, Will's friends gift him an old car on his birthday, after which he takes a letter and puts it in Professor Sean's letterbox, in which he written that, please you tell Professor Gerald that I cannot work in that company because I want to go to meet a girl. After reading this Sean understand that Will Hunting has removed the fear sitting inside him, and now he can live his life well. And he drive the car to California to meet Skylar. This story ends here. Thank you for watching, and subscribe this channel for more interesting video.